The situation in China is continuing to unfold. I have to bring it to you. This is too important to miss. The first thing I want to look at is the civil unrest that has been brewing. And the second is the markets. What's going on here as a result of all of this activity, all of that and more. Let's begin. I have way too much information to cover in this video, but I'm going to go through as quick as I possibly can, give you the points that you need to know. Chinese protests spread over government's restrictions. Demonstrations erupted in Beijing and Shanghai and other major cities. You've got hundreds of millions of people that are under some form of lockdown today, and it is not easing up despite what we've been told. And that brings me to this. Erased, rewound. China stocks back where they were before the boom. Now, this is a comparison ratio between the MSCI China and the MSCI All Country World. So we're back at the levels in 2008. This has really been something that, during this period of the last, let's say, month or 2 months, there has been so much optimism about China opening up and China being the one for the biggest investment, the biggest potential returns, and yet we are seeing this. There had been no indication that they were going to loosen up on their policies, and yet the market said, no, they're going to do it. We believe it. But is that really the case? It doesn't look like it. I mean, just look at what's happening right now. And I'm not here to spread any sort of message one way or another. I'm just trying to show you that the mainstream media was highlighting this, that, hey, everything's opening up and everything's going to be fine and dandy. And yet, I didn't see that at all. Now, today we're dealing with all of this. Look, let me show you some of these different examples. For the second day in a row, China has recorded an explosive increase in infections. So you could look at this particular, it's just a 5-second video, and they're showing all these makeshift, what they call quarantine centers, and they're going to lock people up here for a period of time. And that's important because you can look at this and see how people are going to be affected by it, and the case. Now, this is people tearing down the barricades in Wuhan, anti-lockdown protests spreading, and you're just looking, if you can see that there, the blue areas are kind of dividing one side from another, but at this point, people are just sort of smashing it down. They are really not caring at this point, it seems like. Here's more happening. Protests in China are not rare. What is rare are the multiple protests over the same issue at the same time across the country. The protest below, apparently in central Beijing's area, that is astounding. We don't normally see this, and you're watching a lot of people essentially take to the streets at this time. There's kind of different elements that are happening all at once, but you could see that people in general are fed up. Okay, that's the premise here. Looking at the next one, you could see more protesters who participated in Shanghai's protests. The main demand was to put an end to the measures that have put in place over the last little while. Some people expressed their dissatisfaction with the party, while others mourned the death of those in the fire from the apartment building that I showed you in the previous video. So there's a lot that's happening here, but I just want to make that clear. There's so many videos. There's so much information, so many videos, and of course you never really know who to believe, but you can see that for sure people are just not happy. And there's, an infinite amount of videos that are coming through, what they're saying, how do I know that they're really translating it properly? These are the things that I've had to deal with over the years before, because you don't necessarily know where the information's coming from, what's propaganda. We're getting this message in, but do we necessarily know what's happening on the ground? There are people there, they're pushing out the information. You could see certain aspects that would give us the indication that, yeah, actually this is happening right now and it is at that location. But essentially, all I'm trying to show you here is that people are at their wits' end. And you see that. People are being put away, people are being, taken away in different places. As you can see, it's not just one city. They're protesting using different things. There's a blank sheet of paper in some of them as part of the protest. They're using the lights on their cell phones as part of the protest. So many different things. But I'm just trying to show you that it's not in these small one-off towns. This is in the biggest cities in China. So this particular reporter here from Sky News had gone around just showing the size of the protest in this area here. Look at the next. I won't go on and on, by the way. I'm gonna spare you your time. Chinese protests use tricks to evade censors and vent anger. Blank piece of paper emerges as the symbol of censorship protests. Protesters use graffiti, speeches, and even mathematical equations. So I want to congratulate China for doing that. I've never seen that in a protest before. China's unrest boils over as citizens defy lockdown efforts. Online video of fire in apartment block unleashes nationwide anger and protests over the restrictions. There's a lot going on here, and I don't know what's gonna send these people home. But the government forces, they're not letting up. I wanted to show you this one. This guy just gets taken away. They kind of make sure that they can carry him, and they bring him off. Who knows when he'll be seen again. Okay, so that's that. I think I made my point very clear. Okay, there's a lot happening today inside of China, and I'm trying to cover as much as I possibly can related to this. We're not going to get each and every piece of that because of how restricted the information is, but I wanted to show you that. Let me get into the next aspect. Hong Kong stocks fall 2% on China unrest. Oil drops to the lowest in 2022. So if there isn't that demand there, it's going to have an impact on the stocks. And there was so much optimism leading into this moment. Oh yes, stocks are going to do well now. Chinese stocks are the biggest buy because everything's opening up. I would really like to know where that information came from, because I was saying the whole time, I'm saying I didn't see any where's the opening? Where's this happening? They seem to be locking down. Why is the media saying this? And every analyst out there was saying because of the opening in China, because of the reduced restrictions, reduced lockdowns, and this and that, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And I've been very vocal about it. For those who have been watching the channel, you know, and yet we saw it over and over again. It's so confusing to me. So confusing to me. So we have cuts towards China's economic activity as cities up their controls. So let me be very clear. Right now, they're upping their controls, not reducing them. Okay, economy worsened this month from October. PBOC has boosted its monetary support, cutting the RRR, their ratios. Basically, I talked about this in, I think, 2 videos ago, whereby basically China is going over to the banks and saying you don't need to keep as much of your reserves there, and now it's at average of 7.8%. So the banks can loan out more. That's their way of stimulating. And they're doing this at a time in which, hey, things are slowing down. GDP is not where it was. Economy is not where it was. We need to get that going again. And they're going to do everything they can in order to boost it up. China's industrial profits drop as we see more surges and lockdowns and so on, and prices fall. Profits at industrial firms in China continue to decline in the first 10 months of the year because of restrictions and falling factory gate prices. So this is showing us, you do the lockdowns, you do these measures, it has an impact on the economy. There's less being exported to other countries around the world. Some do speculate that what we're seeing today with all the lockdowns is actually being done in order to slow down inflation. Now that's speculation, and I'm not here to do that, but I just think it's interesting to mention, okay? Look at the next thing here. Is that both the currency in China and commodity currencies, by the way, slide as China's unrest hits mood. So we're looking around the world and you're going to see that. Because if China's slowing down, they're not going to buy as much commodities. They're just not going to. And so that has an impact. If you think, well, that's China, I don't need to care. You got to understand, they're buying your products. They're buying your agriculture. They're buying things from you that they need, and if they're slowing down, they're going to buy less of it. So it's going to have an impact. Protesters may dent a newfound optimism towards the Chinese economy. Haven bids for the dollar, yen, and treasuries may return. I'd be interested to see that, actually. If there's even more strength in the US dollar at this point here. I mean, it has really outperformed for quite a while. China's actions spark Canada review of rules on foreign investment. Canada and China not seeing eye to eye over the last little while, and this is yet another factor. On top of it, government pledges new provisions on national security grounds. Move comes after Canada told Chinese lithium firms to divest. So I'm interested to see what happens here. I wanted to just show you that this is basically more of the same, just to give you the idea from different sources that I'm pulling this from. AP, Reuters, directly from people on Twitter and reporters. I mean, just about everywhere, YouTube, anywhere I can get that from. And it's all the same, just saying we're locking down. There's the protests, there's the clashes that are occurring, and the words civil unrest are being used, okay? And so when I bring these things to you, when I use these terms in my thumbnails and my titles and so on, remember, I literally take those words from these articles. This is what I do, okay? And so you got to understand where I'm getting this information from. I'm trying to get it directly from the source, and I'm trying to get it from multiple sources. So if you see me cover an article, oh yeah, that's Bloomberg, I'm also showing that same basic information over the course of probably a week from 4 different sources. And everything is always in the description under the sources. Anyway, there's just showing you different protests, different areas. I think I made myself clear. I think I made my point that we need to watch out what happens, because this has a direct impact on what's occurring in the economy. And I hope that things turn around. I hope that we don't go into tighter policies and unfortunate circumstances. So that's it for today. If you found it informative, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I'll bring you more information. I'm not trying to make this the China GPS, please understand, but I do want to bring you what I believe is most relevant, okay? So hit that subscribe, and every single day I'll bring you a video. Take care.